Hey, welcome back to another Mind the Mic podcast. I'm your host, Shubs, here with another legend, another special guest in the building. He's probably famously known for being 5'8" of the year at Canberra in the NRL in 2015. Also applied his trade with Penrith Panthers, West Tigers, Raiders, of course. One of the most famous Portuguese rugby league players that's not Portuguese, and played a couple of tests. One of the greatest Great Britain wings of all time, I'd say. The bro Blake Austin played a bit over in Leeds and Warrington, Leeds, Casteford as well. How are you, brother?
Good, thank you, mate. Yeah, that's a fair introduction, mate. All correct. Been around, but yeah, all correct, and awesome to be back home in Australia.
Yeah, no, solid, brother. For anybody that outside of what I just said, doesn't know you, brother, can you give us a little bit more info? Maybe where you came from, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Australian, Western Sydney boy. Grew up in Doonside, so lived in Dooney most of my life. We were just in housing commission out in Doonside, and then mum and dad got the opportunity to buy a house in Mount Druitt, so we moved over there. Pretty cool story how we managed to buy that. Might be something we touch on later, but yeah, just footy mad. Didn't come from a wealthy family, but the one thing I was always blessed with my parents is no expense was ever spared on sport. We scraped together every cent we had, and all that went on sport. So that's what sort of allowed me to walk the path that I did, and I'm forever grateful for the parents that I was given, so to speak, and forever grateful. I've been on a sort of windy journey in my rugby league career, but one that I've learnt many lessons, and also got to share a large chunk of my rugby league career with my kids too. So I'm a father of 4. We had our son Carter at 20, so quite young. And managed to 3 daughters after that. So I'm a girl dad. Stepping away from playing professionally allows me now to be probably the dad that I've always wanted to be. I've always been the best dad I can be, but professional sports certainly takes a lot of your time and energy. So I'm enjoying not having them responsibilities and focusing on being the best dad that I could be.
Yeah, that's the one, brother. Just like yourself, I enjoy being a dad. Very proud father too. So I love to hear that, brother. Speaking on that, your wife, your partner, where did you guys meet?
In Mount Druitt, yeah, we
County.
Yeah, I met her on a school bus or a public bus. I asked her where the bus was going to, and she wasn't very interested at that point. My wife's Ramon, so she's a feisty, beautiful feisty lady.
This is not like you dude asking me where to go. No. Where's the bus going?
Exactly what it was. And then I think she found out that I was pretty handy at rugby league, so her opinion changed. So,
he's pretty hot, this guy. Yeah, let's go.
I got a little bit hotter. Yeah, that's right. So, but yeah, we've got beautiful Afakasi kids, and I admire her family and certainly that culture side of the family, and it's a journey that my kids are on at the moment. We've raised them obviously in Canberra for 4 or 5 years, and in the UK for a large chunk as well. So now that we're back, they're certainly spending more time reconnecting. That's right, more time with the grandparents. Seen a few more faces that look a bit more like them, and it's a journey that they're on too. So it's really cool.
Yeah, good point. Probably few and far between there in the north of England, eh? Cause
it is, yeah, not many at all.
Yeah, not too many. Also, say, cool, brother. That's awesome. So just on the rugby league tip, and where did it all begin for you in Doonside?
4 years old, I was. Yeah, I had one of those journeys where rugby league was my life from a very young age, and to be fair, I was pretty good at a young age. And obviously, when you're good at something, you're passionate about it, and followed it the rest of my life. My parents were very heavily involved in rugby league, not at a professional level or anything like that, but they come from families that love the sport. Dad was always my coach, and Mum was always my team manager, and it was one of those. Yeah, it is, and it's another thing that I'm really grateful for. I think I think it's hard to appreciate how much your parents done for you until you're a parent yourself. Like I'm trying to get my kids around to all their sport, and it's just shining a light on how good a job my parents done, because it's not easy. You're trying to have your own life as an adult, and then also making sure you're giving your kids every opportunity to be successful wherever that may be. And so yeah, I'm really grateful. My parents put a lot of time and effort into me, and it's no wonder that I was able to achieve what I did.
Yeah, shout out to the olds, man. Do you got siblings in that?
Yeah, I do, and I'm one of four, so
Yep.
I'm the second oldest. I have an older sister and a younger brother and a younger sister, and they joke a lot about our upbringing, that all the time and effort was gone into me. And I just remind them, if they had a bit of talent, we would have spread the love. But obviously,
But Blake had it all, league of their own,
yeah. If you ask my siblings, that's how they would recount things for sure. But
no, solid, brother. What was it like growing up? How's this? What was it? Sorry, brother.
I was just saying, you got to go where the money is.
That's it, my brother. That's it. They knew where the money bags was going to come from, Gus. They knew he was gonna be able to look after them when they're older.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it. What was it like growing up? How's those, brother?
Oh, we didn't know any different. We didn't know any different. We had all our family lived around, only streets away too. So
no, that's cool.
Oh, the best, man. It was. You had uncles popping in on the daily, and every afternoon after school, we'd be at Nan and Pop's, sitting on the veranda, and family calling in. So you just don't know any different. And truth be told, it's actually more exciting for kids. You know what I mean? You're out on your bikes and you're mucking around with your friends, and it's you look back now, and obviously my kids have been afforded a little bit more of a privileged life, so to speak, but there's certainly things that I really want to make sure that they're taught and understand, because I think kids that grow up in those sort of areas, it's no coincidence that they find their passion and they get pretty good at it too, because it's all their time and effort often goes into them passions. And truth be told, I was a kid that rugby league I saw as my opportunity to make some money for myself and make some good money too, and that was why I sort of pursued it as hard as I did as well.
Yeah. And speaking on that, like people from those areas, low socioeconomic, grew up in a lot of that myself as well, but I sort of not like yourself in one area, just fucking bounced around all around the country. But I get you, brother, and it's salt of the earth people a lot of the times. You know what I mean? Like don't have much, but you have each other, sort of thing, hey?
Yeah, without a doubt. My dad was one of 13, so.
Let's go. Yeah, so he's not Islander.
He's bringing sound similar to yours. They bounced around a lot and never stayed at a place longer than 6 to 8 months. Often packed up the house middle of the night, due, and they'd rather move on then. But they, like my dad's family, they were the most exciting times of my youth. Was family parties or family weddings, and my dad was one of the younger ones, so I always had older cousins that were, having a beer and carrying on and having a good time. And so they were some of my best memories, certainly growing up.
Yeah, it's a solid, brother. Yeah, no, and just on that, I think I was 25, I think I was older, maybe 26 or something before I ever lived in a house longer than a year in my whole life. Yeah, brother. So, yeah, definitely.
But it's resilience. It's resilience, and my dad's taught me so much. His parents taught me so much, and you're right. They're real people and salt to the earth. They're respectful. I mean, you cross them, and they're going to be a hard time, but just genuine, respectful people. Real old school. I think that's something we've lost in today's day and age. Like people that can clip you across the ear, but then pull you up and tell you everything's okay after it. You know what I mean? So
yeah. You're not allowed to do that anymore. Okay, no. Hey, the kids will call the cops on you now.
They've all got the phone number.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, believe too much, especially the hectic ones, the old bashing. I
Yep.
don't really believe too much in
Yep.
it anyway. Yeah, but we try to be the antithesis of the upbringing in a lot of ways, and all the bad stuff anyway, and take the good. Western Sydney, brother, at the same time, fucking it's popping off these days, brother? Or was it a bit different when you were coming up there?
Yeah, it was, and it's the coolest thing at the I said before that rugby league was my opportunity I saw to make something of myself, and the coolest thing now is kids out west now have role models in all walks of life. It's not just rugby league. We've got UFC fighters, we've got rappers, we've got entrepreneurs. So, and we live in a day and age where it's cool to have a hard luck story. Like everyone likes to make out like their upbringing was a little bit harder than what it was, because it's not cool to say my parents were rich and I had an easy life and things were smooth, and you don't learn as much. I had a teammate at Canberra, Jordan Rapana, and we used to pay out on him and say, stop making out like your life was tough. You lived in a 6 or 7 bedroom house and you had a hair salon down in the basement, man.
Jordan Raps,
So we used to pay out on him a bit for that. But everyone loves a hard luck story. I don't want to paint mine. Mine certainly wasn't. I was so blessed. My parents shielded me from all their struggles. But it's
definitely grew up around a lot of it. A lot of people.
And I've always been proud to be from Western Sydney. Obviously, not as loud as some of the guys are today.
Also, what was it different? Was there a different mindset around being from Western Sydney compared to today? Was it a bit more frowned upon back in the day?
I think it was more when I was growing up. It ingrained a chip on your shoulder. It was don't tell everyone you're from Mount Druitt, but they'll see the way you work and they'll see the work ethic, and that was ingrained in you. And you wanted to prove everyone that good things can come out of Western Sydney. Whereas now it's just a given. We live in a day and age now where it doesn't really matter where you come from. You can make something of yourself. And the boys today, obviously, the Panthers have been a huge driver in this. Bro, we've got kids from Western Sydney now that are part of the best rugby league team the game has ever seen, which is pretty crazy, man. So it becomes easier for them guys to be very loud and proud about where they come from. As I said, I was always that proud, probably not as loud as these boys, but I'm so grateful for who I am, and where I come from has a large role to play in that.
Yeah, and shout out to the Panthers too for crafting one of the greatest props of all time, coming back home to the Warriors, up the West, up the James Fisher-Harris.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It's he's obviously a linchpin of that team, co-captain. Huge cue for the Warriors. Sorry, but it's going to be interesting to see where the Panthers spend their cash now.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't think they would have without a plan, I'm sure. So, they're losing a lot, but they're a bit of they seem like a bit of a system. Out comes one, and then the next thing, and keeps going.
Well, that's what it's been. I think this will be the biggest challenge yet. I think.
Those two boys leaving next year.
Yeah, well, I think with the players that have always left the Panthers, everyone's always said as long as you can keep Cleary, Fisher-Harris, and Isaiah Yeo together, then it doesn't really matter who you put around them. So losing one of them three now is going to really put a test on that.
Were those boys there at all in any capacity when you were at the Panthers, or were they still young?
No, too young. I versed him. I would have versed Cleary, Isaiah Yeo. But my time at the Panthers, the coolest thing to see is the Panthers NRL team finally looks the way it should. We've been a nursery for years and years, but unfortunately, there's only been one or two that ever reached the levels that they probably should. You like Michael Jennings and Wade Graham. Wade Graham. Those kind of guys have got to the level that everyone out west thought they would, and then the rest have sort of led strong careers, but probably not got to the heights that some would have expected.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on speaking on Jinko? What are your thoughts on the whole 300 and the NRL allowing him to play, but not giving him 300 games celebration? What do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's a tough one. I think if you're going to let the guy play, I think there's your answer to that situation. But also, I can see both sides of the story. I think I think we live in a day and age where optics is everything, and the NRL, obviously it's a big beast now. They make a lot of money, and they've got to keep a lot of corporate
That's right.
money
That's right,
happy,
brother.
and that's one trade-off that we have to have if we're going to be a game that pays our players the sort of money that they're paying them now. And unfortunately, it's not the best thing, but the trade-off for that is we get to pay our athletes premium price for their products. So trade-offs are in all walks of life, and sadly for Jenko, who someone I looked up to for a long time, a St. Dom's boy. I went to St. Dom's myself, and sadly he's he's a loser in such a trade-off.
I mean, but cool. I think that's a beautiful perspective to have too, brother. I think perspective is everything, right? You look out the window, you can see a beautiful sunshine, or you can look out the window and say, what a dirty window, or maybe that sun's beating me. So good perspective. You just put there, my brother. And I agree. Right.
I reckon Michael Jennings had just be counting his blessings that he's playing NRL again. I think the outcry probably come more from those around him because they know the person and they want him to be celebrated. I think if you spoke to Michael, I reckon he's just happy to be back on the field and doing what he loves and proving people wrong. I think he's 34, 35 now, and just the fact that he's on the field again is it's such a story. I hope we get to hear what a cool story it is. I hope that the off-field stuff doesn't stop people from hearing about what a journey he's gone on, but I reckon he's just counting his blessings to be playing again for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So growing up in Doonside, brother, you play for them growing up. Was there any gun players around you at the time? They ended up kicking on growing up. Did you grow up with some weapons?
The best. So Matt Moylan's from Doonside. He never played for Dooney, but he lives in Dooney. We always said he had the best house in Dooney, the richest bloke in Doonside.
That's good.
We played with a guy called Matthew Wright. On boy, fullback for the Sharks. Centre winger, fullback. He was probably the best player for our age group. I remember at 16, the Sharks signed him on a $75,000 contract, and they put a Toyota Camry in his contract, and we were like 16 at the time. We're like,
that's 16.
He's getting a car. We're like, so unfortunately, his career probably, as I said, he's another one of those. If you've seen the player he was coming through, you probably think he goes on to play Origin in Australia, and while he still had a great career and got to do something that not many people get to do, and that's play 80 plus sort of NRL games, 100 plus NRL games, but probably had the ability to be a lot better. But he was one. We had another best mate called Tum. It was me, Matty Wright, and Tum. We were sort of the three better ones that played together. Unfortunately,
Tum, what was
Tum? TUM, yeah, Tum Salapa. So he's actually the older brother of Hooligan Hefs.
Oh, true.
The rapper,
and he was gone, eh?
Yeah, he was one of my best mates growing up. He played with us, and unfortunately, his life's gone down a different path. He had a knee reconstruction, done his ACL at 14 years of age, and I wouldn't wish an ACL injury on anyone. And seeing your mate go through it at 14 he was never the same after that. He was destined to sort of do the same things that me and Matty Wright done, and he was one that an injury sort of halted, and then the mental scars that come with that, and then the mental side of watching two of your good mates kicking on and he's struggling, and so he was one that
Did he have some rhymes too, coach? Or nah?
Hey,
he
didn't. No, that was well before rap was cool. Yeah, but I've known Hef since a little kid. I used all my holidays were sleeping at their houses. He was just a little whippersnapper. Then I actually coached.
Little whippersnapper.
They were, man. I coached them back in 2014 and 15 at Doonside. Hefs was in that team.
Wow.
Probably enjoyed a fight more than he did playing footy, but I'm really proud to say that them boys that I coached have gone on to some cool things for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, brother, it's opening up different doors. Even this little thing that they're doing here with this microphone, like I think that's the reason, a big driver for me to do it too, is that one. Like I'm 32. I started this in January and just recently ticked over 100 episodes in like a short amount of time, just because I've put myself in a position to just be able to do this, full time. It's just yarn to people. But I think, maybe one day, either someone that's, maybe even 18, 19, say, oh, fuck, mate, I don't know what to do. Maybe I can talk. Maybe I'll jump on the mic and give it a crack. Or even someone that just hasn't pulled the trigger yet, decided like myself. I should have started this like 5 years ago. I had the intention to, but I just didn't get around to do it. So
I've had a moment like this recently. Like, I'm someone that would love to get on a camera and do a bit of stuff myself. And I'm now working in a school, and I've just witnessed a 14 and a 15-year-old kid from my school start a NRL review show. Do you know what I mean? And
cool, brother.
It's very low budget, and it's it's got some work, but they're 15-year-old kids that are just having a crack. And I'm sat here thinking, bro, these kids are just going after it, and I'm here making every excuse why I can't start my own. So the thing is when you start, I guess not every show is going to be worldwide audience, but everyone has an audience. And I think that's the coolest thing. You just have to start, then you find your audience, and that audience grows as long as you're genuine and, got some good content. And that's why I take my hat off to you. That's why I'm here today to help you out, because I genuinely love to see people just having a crack.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, brother, straight up. And I know, being in talks with you for a little bit, busy man, being, back in the now in the working real life, as they say.
Yeah, man.
But the balance and figure it all out, man. But good on you. I'm sure. How's that going for you now? Too like transition. Obviously, we get into more of the footy, but how's the life after right now? Just sitting here trying to balance it all out. Obviously, get more time with family, but she's different, eh?
Do you know what? I'm genuinely loving it. Like, I think we're taught from from the moment we make our NRL debut, anyone that wants to tell us will tell us that, don't forget, it's not going to last forever. Be wise with your money. You might only play 5 games. You might play 10 games. You might play 20 games. It's not going to last forever. So your whole career, you're just in this panic mode about, oh shit, what am I going to do next? And I don't know if people are trying to scare you, but for me, I'm only I forget that I'm only like 4.5, 5 months out of professional sport, but it's been the coolest 6 months of my life. Like, I think stepping away now makes me understand how stressful and how, like, I was just an anxious wreck every week. Like, your 7 days are solely determined by how your game goes, not just the result, but by how you played, by what impact you had on the game, by what stage of your contract that you're at, when's your next contract coming, you know what I mean? So, man, I'm really enjoying day-to-day life. I've been pretty blessed. I've stumbled across a job that's really cool for a few different reasons. I'm a full-time rugby league coach in a sports school.
Okay.
So me personally, like, youth work was something that I looked into. That was something I knew would fulfill me. But to combine sort of mentoring and working with youth and rugby league, kids that are on a journey and want to achieve things that I've achieved, that's super fulfilling. So I'm working at the Central Coast Sports College, which is an awesome environment. I'm loving every day in, day out, working with the kids. But not only working there, my 4 kids go there. So it's a kindergarten to year 12 school.
So, I went to a few of those back home.
What that means is I get to round my kids up every morning, and we go on a 30-minute car ride to school every day and back home from school every day. So, I've got a 5-year-old. I've got a 5-year-old telling me about the dramas of the life of a 5-year-old girl, and then I've got my 13-year-old son telling me about the weight session or the rugby league session that they done that day. So, truly blessed, man. I'm loving where I'm living. I'm loving where I'm at. There's still a few passion projects that I want to be pushing harder towards, similar to what we just spoke about. But pretty content at the moment. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, but at least you got the time with the family, brother. The most important, like you said. And I can't understand at all, fathom really what it's like being a professional rugby league player. But speaking on that, the anxieties or the ups and downs and the different stages of that, it's crazy, brother. And do you want to speak on some of that? Even I know we're jumping all over the place here, but I don't really care. As long as you don't mind.
We can go where you want.
Brother, like that. What you said about just the fact that, like, just the anxiety, I guess, that you endure through being an athlete or that you experience yourself anyway, you can speak on that.
Yeah, I think you grow up, rugby league's your life and your passion. I think that's why you pursue it professionally. I think once you start playing professional, it has the ability to morph into something that you didn't really sign up for. Like it was a way to express yourself on the weekend with your mates when you're a kid, and you were quite good at it. You know what I mean? When you become professional, there's so many more aspects and elements that go into it. The way my career went is, I look back now and on reflection, I was really good at climbing to the top. I just wasn't very good when you got to the top. I think
okay. Yeah.
I think my upbringing has a lot to do with that. I think, I'm
like an imposter syndrome, sort of, or
a little bit, yeah. But I was also the kind of guy where I come from. You back me into a corner, and I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah, that's
I'll prove you wrong all the way to the top. But once I get there, then I feel like I'm not really worthy of being there. And not just that, but my identity is, oh fuck, I'm at the top. What do I do now? And I also almost go into a self-destruct mode to say, well, let's get back down to the bottom and we'll climb it again and we'll prove them all wrong again. I reckon being from Western Sydney and the upbringing that I had, it really leans into that, because my whole life I wanted to prove to people that, hey, I'm from Doonside and I'm from Mount Druitt. But you might laugh when you hear I'm from Mount Druitt, but I'll prove to you how good and what people out here can do. Like if you look at the way my career went, I come in with some pretty big raps and got pretty complacent, and my career was nearly over at 22, 23. I go to the Tigers to prove to people that, hey, I'm pretty worthy here and I can be a handy
good year too, Tigers.
Yeah, and I do what I need to do at the Tigers, which then brings me onto the Canberra's radar, and then I go to Canberra. My first year's, I'm a probably truth be told, top 5, top 7 player in the competition.
Yeah, brother, no, definitely. I mean, 5-8 of the year when Maloney's and all these guys getting around, brother. Milford, friggin' weapons, brother. I mean, Anthony Milford was in the grand final. Michael Morgan, you got 5-8 of the year around those blokes at the time. Who were, it's pretty good. Maloney wins the grand final next year as well.
Yeah, well, then my second year at Canberra, personally, probably wasn't as good, but as a team, we achieved some really cool things. We got to within one game of the grand final.
Yeah,
and then I'm finally at them 2 years there. I'm finally where I want to be. Like I'm finally showing people what I've known I'm capable of my whole life, and then probably get complacent for a couple of years again there. Then my next 2 years at Canberra, I didn't achieve anywhere near what I was capable of or what I should have.
When's the anxiety? Is that going in like throughout this whole journey, or
my whole NRL career? It doesn't leave you. I don't know if it's because of your position. Like obviously as a half, you ride the wins and losses. Like I said to someone the other day, like if I could have just been a lock or a prop, like you drive to the game knowing you have to be tough and you have to try your best. And if you do that, no one will question you. Whereas when you're in the halves, like you've got to be more than that. You've got to kick well. You've got to control the game. You've got to set up the tries. You've got to score the tries. You've got to save the tries, not let them. You know what I mean? So
even if you do all that, brother, you still lose. Even if you do all that right, you still lose too.
But not only that, even if you do all that, you're getting all the pats on the back, but then you got to do it 7 days later, and then again for another 26 weeks. Do you know what I mean?
Again, yeah.
So but you talk about the anxiety that never left me in my whole career. Like, my first 3 or 4 years of my career, no one could tell me what position I was going to be.
Because pretty tall too, eh, brother?
I shot up to 6'1". And then people were like, well, you might be a lock. And then they were like, well, hang on, maybe you could play center. And then some said, well, you still might be a 5'8". And then some said you might be a back rower. So I guess what I learned in them first 4 years is stop. Like I was looking for someone to tell me, give me the answer. And then after them first 4 years, I was like, well, fuck this. This hasn't worked for me. I'm now on the scrap heap, really. I haven't got a contract. I'm going to the Tigers on a quarter of the money. So when I went to the Tigers, I sort of said, I'm going to have this attitude where fuck everyone else. I'm going to do what I want. Because if I'm going to fail my way. And that worked for me for a few years. But then it also created some bad habits where, I probably didn't use the people around me to the level that I should have. I I had this mentality that I could put everyone on my back and create success. And I did it for a couple of years, but in terms of sustained and longevity in the sport, that's not something you can do. Like you get a bit carried away with yourself. You try and make sure everything's set up for you to succeed, and you ignore the people around you. So, yeah, I've learned plenty of lessons. Like that attitude I just spoke of, as I said, it got me. That's why I was Dally M Five of the year, and that's why I did have the good year in 16, and that's why 3 or 4 of my years in England were very good, and that's why I played in, for Great Britain and things like that. But it certainly created some negatives, and I guess reflecting on my career, I'm very proud of what I achieved. But if you watched me on my best day, like I was capable of a lot longer and more consistent career. It just didn't happen for some of them reasons we just spoke about. Yeah.
Yeah, nah, but bro, I love you as a player, brother. 100.
Yeah.
Actually, I got a little story too, just to slide in there. My bro and I, Stu. Shout out to Stu. If we can get a shout out to Stu Blake, that'll be cool. No, but I used to use you on the game because we're both Warriors fans, and he'd either choose the Warriors or whatever, and then I'll just choose the Raiders, and then like I'll just slap him up. But I don't know why, but like on the rugby league game, and just give him a hiding with Blake Austin, and then he every day he'd be like, "Oh, not Blake Austin." Just carve him up on the game, brother. And then, yeah, like I'd put you at fullback or something, and just I don't know on the game you went all right, bruv. Too, so
Yeah.
when I told him I was gonna talk to you, he's like, "Oh fuck, I remember you just smoking me in the game with the bro," and I remember the bro having a cool career like at Canberra and so.
Yeah.
Shout out to brother Stewie.
Yeah, I don't regret anything, and I'm proud of everything I've done. I just think I think we have a duty if you can shed light for someone else, and someone's past is another man's future. So if we can if we can shed light and help someone, like this mentoring thing, it's something I'm really enjoying. I reckon it's a journey I'm going to go on. I want people to experience what I've experienced. I know there's a lot of people out there in rugby league that have got to higher highs, but man, if people can walk the path that I've walked, I know it's like I've got a son now. My son's 13, and I want everything I've had plus more for him, and that's a bit of a journey I reckon I'm going to go on soon, is how to help people achieve that, because man, it's a cool sport. Like it has its ups and downs and its roller coaster moments, but I wouldn't change a thing. People say that, like they say, people hear me talking about the stress and the anxiety, but I wouldn't change a thing. I don't say it for that. I just to shed some light. Like people think professional sports fucking rainbows and butterflies, but man, it's
literally
it's tough work.
you get paid a lot of money, mate. Like bloody hard enough, man.
It is, man. It's ups and downs for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any advice for anybody that's maybe going through that has the same feelings that you do? Maybe not everybody does, but anybody that is experiencing it the way you experienced it, do you have any advice to how to get through it, or how to anything out there for the people?
Yeah, I think looking back, I think if you listen to the people patting on your back, you'll also listen to the people that will drag you down. And a lot of times they'll be the same people. Like my the season that I had in 2015 at Canberra, it comes so quick. Like it didn't come quick because I was 25. But to some people, they would have thought I became an overnight success. I think I heard someone say recently is like it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. But to most people, they would have seen, and to me even, it felt like I'd taken this slow climb, and then I arrived at Canberra, and then that next 12 months was like a whirlwind. Like I didn't help myself. I had a beard hanging off my chin that was like fucking what do you reckon, 50 centimeters long. So that made
pretty
me
long, gee. The Viking, hey, you fit the Viking mold, brother.
That's right. I created this sort of cult figure for myself, and I was playing well, and that made me really recognizable. And people were quick to tell me how good I was going. And truth be told, I probably bought into that too much. Which then on the flip side, when people build you up and then it turns and then you're on the opposite end of it, things can get pretty tough. I think that's not on the people that build you up, but that's on me. Like they didn't build me up. They spoke about what they saw, and I used that as, oh fuck, I'm going pretty good. And then when you're on the other end of it, it can feel like your world's caving in, and you get this tenseness about you, and nothing good happens when you're in that sort of state of mind. Like you hear about it all the time. Ignore the good stuff, ignore the bad stuff, and just live somewhere in the middle, and your life will be pretty good. It's easier said than done. Like, bro, there's 4 rugby league shows on TV a night. There's newspapers, there's Twitter, there's Instagram. Everywhere you turn your head, you like, if you're a professional player and you're playing quite well, everywhere you turn your head, you have the ability to read some good things about yourself. But you've got to find a way to block it out, as I said. Otherwise, if things slightly turn, life can get pretty shit as well.
Yeah, I think Gary Vee says that a lot too. If you can't hear them when they cheer, you can't hear them when they boo. So,
that's right.
Like you said, easier said than done, though. Especially when it's all in your face and everywhere you go. And
everyone loves a pat on the back. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah. Innately, eh?
Yeah, well, and people have advice for you on how to deal with it. But the thing is, a lot of times it's people that have never experienced them experiences. Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, listen, mate. When you're playing well, just stay calm and don't listen to the hype. But then you're like, well, what have you ever done that's so great that people have wanted to pat you on the back? Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, Jimmy's been digging holes since he was fucking.
It's
14,
like people that have got people that give financial advice that have never had money in their life. You're like, come on, man. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? No one knows how they're going to spend money until they got money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a bit like that, I reckon.
100%. I've just touching on what you said before about people thinking you're an overnight success. I remember the story about Picasso. You know the painter Picasso.
Yep.
And he's walking through a market one day, and a lady says to him, "Can you draw a portrait of me?" And then he says, "Yeah, sweet." Does it for her in like a couple of minutes, and she's like, he goes, "Oh, that'll be $10,000." Like, I don't know the dollar sign, but $10,000. The lady says, "You did that for me in 2 minutes." He goes, "Yeah, but it took me 40 years to be able to do that for you in 10 minutes. So in 2 minutes they pay up." So that's that same thing of like they don't see, they just see this. Oh, we never seen you on TV and the bright lights, but like you've been grinding all your life, baby. You know what I mean? Like do this. And shout out to you, bro. So just for the advice part, just try and find a way to block it out. Like as hard as it may be. That's probably the advice there for the people that are struggling like you did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, solid, brother. Going back to like how does the Portuguese thing happen, brother? How do you end up playing for Portugal? Ronaldo's cousin, obviously.
I've told this story many times, and it's a little bit of an embarrassing story to tell, only because I don't want people to think I was taking the piss, even though I guess in a way I kind of was.
Right?
Yeah. I was young, that's right. And so the story goes, my dad knew a guy. He bumped into him at a rugby match. My dad knew him as a kid. They played footy together as kids. And then he bumped into him, and they got chatting, and he said, "Oh, I'm trying to start up Portuguese rugby league." He was an Australian guy, and he married a Portuguese woman. So he was trying to get Portuguese rugby league on the map. He ends up saying that I think the rule was at the time, because they were an emerging nation, they could have 2 non-Portuguese players. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you send the rules, cuss. There you go.
It wasn't. So he says, "Does your son want to come and have a game?" And I'm only 16 at the time, and they're versing Malta. Malta had Jared Zemmet. Greece had John Skandalis. So like I see a few
NRLs.
Yeah, so then I start thinking, do you know what? I can test myself against some NRL players, see where I'm at, see if I can handle it, and get a gauge on where I'm at in my journey. Well, I end up playing for them. When I say play for them, there was no training. They met at the game. They handed out a polo at the gate. Like it was – people are like picturing this really professional international game. We met at the gate at the end of the sort of polo, and then we all walked in with our polo. So it was in its very early stages. And I'd like
Portuguese like NRL players, or like what was it, Isaac de Gois? Isaac de Gois, 19.
He ran the water, and his brothers were playing. I can't think of any others. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So how'd you go? Did you win or did you get a dong?
We got donged. Yeah, we got smashed. I ended up being one of the better players, so they kept inviting me back, and that's how I have a few caps for Portugal.
Yeah. So how many caps do you have all up?
I reckon I played like 3 or 4 times, yeah.
Yeah, fucking. Just say you're Ronaldo's cousin, brother.
I will, mate. I will.
What about it, like the World Cup and then like when they're playing, like I don't know if you're into the football or all? Nah, no, not go Portugal, nah.
Nah. I'm English now, mate. So.
Yeah, that's right. No, fair enough, brother. On that too, bro. You obviously had the heritage there to be able to pledge the allegiance.
Yep, Nen was born in Twickenham. They were £10 poms to come to Australia. Yeah. But Nen, like I've said this before too, Nen's the most special person that's ever been in my life. Like every decision I make in life, I sort of base on the way my Nan lived. She was one of the hardest, toughest woman I've ever been lucky enough to come across, and to call her my Nan is it's pretty special. And as I've got older, I've come to realize sort of how when you're young, you sort of take it for granted. Like, yeah, that's Nan. And truth be told, like my Nan used to come to everything I'd have for sport. And as a kid, I used to get a bit embarrassed because they used to come to things where like they'd be the only parents coming, and I'd be like, "Can you just let me live? Like, give me some space." Like they would come to a like under 13 school in-house trial match. So like they're the only parents sitting on the sideline. I'm like, fuck, this is embarrassing. Just let me play my game and I'll come home after school. And but as I got older, man, you learn what sort of things your grandparents have gone through, and some of the things I've learned about her life and the path she's walked, and to know that the spirit and the love that she still had. Yeah, she's such an incredible woman. She, her health in her last sort of 5 to 10 years was tough on her, but you would never have known it. Never stopped her doing anything. She was out shopping with my mum every day and picking us up from sport and taking us to our next sport. And she come like they got pulled out of their homes in World War II. Obviously, the bombs were coming into London.
Yeah.
So like, they got sent to Wales to a family, and the family. She was a burden on the family. She was very young, about 9 months. So the family, they enjoyed having her older sister with them because she could do a lot of chores. But Nan was young, and she wasn't much help to anyone. She was actually more of a burden than anything. So she didn't have a very good time with them. Her sister still tells the story, and as it was, they made their way back to mum and dad, and relocated to Australia. And she couldn't shake her accent. She still had her English accent, but considered herself Australian. She lived, from sort of 8 or 9 onwards in Australia, so considered herself very Aussie. But like, it's playing for England. I understand that kids that have grown up in England all their life, it probably means a little bit more to them. I don't doubt that. But to me,
Aussie Blake.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But when I stood there and sung that national anthem, and I knew it was because of that, that special lady, and the lady that meant so much to me, I couldn't really care what anyone thinks. Like, it was a huge thing for me. And as it was, and as things pan out, Nen passed away 2 weeks after I represented Great Britain.
Oh, well. Maybe she was happy, bruv. She got to and she wasn't.
She obviously, she'd always had health issues, but she wasn't sort of expected to pass away around that time. And as it was, like, I felt a sense of pride that she got to see me do that, and so close before her death. Yeah, it makes it seem almost like it was written in her stars, and I'm really proud to say that I got to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, that's a beautiful why, cuz, you know what I mean? Like, we talked a lot about like family being, huge for, you as a human being, but I guess anyone having those support systems and knowing now doing your kids' sports, what it's like, having to juggle all that stuff and being there for them. Shout out to Nan, brother. Shout out to Nan, man. Yeah. What was Nan's name, brother? Can we put it up there? Or
she was Sheila.
Sheila, yeah.
Sheila.
Shout out, what a Sheila she was, eh?
She was, and that she was, man. She was hard as nails. Some of her old school beliefs, and you just couldn't phase her, man. She just loved life. My second youngest daughter's got her middle name, and bro, she's like, once again, she's exactly like her. Just a social guy. She'll stop and chat to anyone, and it's like it's so cool. Me and the missus say it all the time. She's just little Sheila, and whether giving her the name has got anything to do with that or not, but personality wise, just so similar, man.
No, beautiful, bro. That's so cool. 10-pound pom, you said, hey? Do you know where the term pom came from?
Hey?
Do you know where the term pom came from?
It was prisoner of Majesty's.
Yeah, Mother England, yeah, Majesty England. That's right. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize. In a way, yeah, like think about it.
I lived in England, but some English take offence to it.
Yeah, yeah, I know that.
Oh, you can't say that, and I was like, oh shit, sorry, man, I never.
Sorry, brother.
Yeah. So
that's all I heard growing up, like in reference to English people. Yeah, sorry, bro. What's that experience like, brother? I guess. Oh, actually, before that, Raiders. You go around there. Ricky, tell us about Ricky, brother. Any little anecdotes about Ricky, or your thoughts on Ricky as a man, as a coach? What makes him good?
Yeah, he brilliant for me. Like he changed my whole life. Like I went down there and made a name for myself, earned the money that I always wanted to earn, and so I'll be forever indebted and grateful for Ricky and Don Ferner as well, the CEO. They're both great mates, but they looked after me in ways that they didn't have to. So I'll be forever indebted. And Ricky used to say himself that he doesn't want to stop his players from earning good money. Ricky was someone that earned a lot of money out of the game himself, and he certainly wants his players to do the same because it is a tough game. So I'm forever grateful for that. He's super emotional, and that's both ends of the scale. I've seen him cry countless times talking about his players. You would have seen his press conference when Jack Whiten was leaving last year, and he genuinely cried. And we've seen that countless times. Like he'd get up at an end-of-year function and talk about his players and start getting emotional because that's the kind of person that he is. But I guess when you're emotional on one end of the scale, you're also emotional on the other end. So he can get quite upset. He can get quite he can turn off players pretty quickly. I'd like to think by the end of my tenure at Canberra, we were on a level where we could still work together. I think any half that has a coach that was a half as well, you're going to have moments through your relationship where you're going to test each other. But man, I've got the utmost respect for him. He's a great father. He's got great kids down there. He's got a daughter with autism that he puts a lot of time and energy into helping the lives of other families that have kids with autism. He is a wonderful man. He is just emotional on both ends of the scale.
Yeah, like you say, you can't have one without the other. You can't have the crying, emotional guy and then not have the one that's gonna fucking go to war for you, and then the one that's gonna give it to you when he doesn't agree with you. That makes sense, bro.
Yeah,
the yin and the yang of it. Awesome, brother. So you obviously leave Canberra and head to the north of England, brother.
Yeah, I did. I was actually gonna go to the Eels. I was pretty close to signing at the Eels, and I was gonna I was gonna go to the Eels, just similar to when I went to the Tigers. It was gonna be on a quarter of the money, so nowhere near the money I was on, but it was gonna give me a chance to fight my way back up again and prove people wrong again. So that was almost a done deal. And then someone rang and said, "Listen, Warrington's interested," and I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm only 27. I'm not really ready to go to England." And then my agent said, "Oh, look, they're a pretty wealthy club. Like, I think you can almost write your own contract, whatever you want, you'll sort of get." And I sort of said, "Well, all right then, mate. If you can get me this, and this," so like 4 or 5 different things. I said, "I guess I'll go." Well, he rings me half an hour later, and he's like, "You got everything you asked for. Like, are we gonna go?" And I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Should I ask for some more?
Yeah. At the time, like I knew that I could switch my allegiance and play for England. So I knew that going at an age of 27, I could still earn really good money, which I did. I could still play really good footy, which I did, and I could further my career and play some international stuff. So, and I'm so grateful that I went. I've now got lifelong friends in England. I talk about my time in England, like me and the missus, we were very close to doing our citizenship and staying there for the rest of our lives. We were. now that I'm back here, I realise that was a pretty silly fucking mindset. Like,
yeah,
when
with all the
you're over
family
there
and
and
that back home.
yeah, and well, what I found is, so I went to Canberra when I was 24, lived there for 4 years, went to England for 5. What I found is, if you're happy with your job and if you're happy with your pay packet, you can live anywhere, man. I always say you can live on Mars if you're happy with them two things, because you can. If you're happy as a parent and you're earning good money, your kids are going to be happy. You're living a good life. You're in a nice house. But yeah, so grateful that my first 3 years at Warrington were probably 3 of my favorite years in my whole career.
Yeah,
Even though
why is that?
I don't know, I found a bit of a home there. I found a home away from home. I met some really good people. The Warrington Wolves is another club. Warrington and Canberra were probably the two clubs that allowed me to be me, but also had some really, really good people involved that allowed me to enjoy myself. Both really well-run clubs, both similar too. Like in England, I made some really good friends from Australia that we lent on pretty hard. Jason Clark, Bryson Goodwin. When you're an Aussie overseas, you lean on each other pretty heavily.
Kiwi there, Bryson Goodwin.
Yeah, big club. I made friends with a lot of English boys as well. Darryl Clark, Stephen Ratchford, some of those guys were some of the best friends I'll have for the rest of my life. So I was there for the first 3 years, 9 months. I sat on my couch doing nothing because COVID.
True. Yeah, what was that experience like? Because
it was tough and awesome all rolled into one.
Okay.
So like obviously the weather in England's shit, but for whatever reason, COVID in England fell in the summer. So we handed back 30% of our pay, which wasn't enjoyable. But having said that, we had 3 or 4 months of glaring hot sun, sitting in the garden drinking pints of beer. Yeah, it was. I wish I could go back to it. As great, obviously, a lot of people suffered health and conditions and stuff like that. My experience was I was home every day with my kids. I'd get up, I'd go for a run, do a bit of training, then I'd sit my afternoons in the garden under the sun with a beer in hand. So I reckon I'd go back to them times pretty quickly.
Like I've been in a bit of an English summer too, brother. The sun seems a bit more sharper there than down here. Obviously, a lot hotter down here.
Yeah, because on the thermometer it'll say 24 degrees, and you're like, no way! Like this is 35 easy.
Okay, different.
There is definitely something different. People try and say it's because you've been starved of the sun, but I don't reckon it's. I don't know.
I think it's just a bit sharper there, eh, bro? It's just different.
It's sharper, 100% agree with you.
You know, because I'm talking about coming from Australia. I know it's winter here, but coming from Australia, going there in summer and stuff, and it's like, I don't know. It's like,
it's a different.
I'm feeling it's a bit different.
To speak about that.
Because people laugh about it, like, it's a heat wave and it's like 28 degrees, like for 4 days.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it's 35, bro. It's way hotter. The whole country shuts down too. Like the trains stop working in the heat, and they can't handle it at all. Yeah, but I loved it. I really did. I loved every minute of it. I enjoyed Warrington more than Leeds. I had a great time at Leeds. We played in the grand final my first year there, but nothing was ever going to live up to my first 3 years. Obviously, I was on a bit better money and at a better club and working for people that I really clicked with and really got on with. So, had a great time.
Some pretty wealthy power brokers too at Warrington, huh?
There is, but not what you'd expect either. Awesome. Like, this is what, like, you think people with money there a bit, but these are local guys. This is the coolest thing about Warrington is the 3 or 4 rich people they have involved in the club have lived in that town since they were 3 or 4. And the one with the most money, Simon Moran, he's SJM Concerts. So any concert that comes into Manchester, he puts on. He's still on. Yeah, we did. Yeah, a few Drake concerts and Nicki Minaj and a few of those. So, but he still gets a bus to the local games at times. He'll sit at the end of the ground with all the fans, and mate, this guy's a legend. Like,
talk about salt of the earth, brother. That's cool.
Yeah, well, and they're all rich enough to be living on a street in London, and they could get a helicopter to the games every week. But they
love their towns, eh?
They live in the town that they've grown up in. Obviously, they have the best houses in the town, but they're still there and putting there's a guy called Mike Lomax, and he's not like, he's still worth about 10 million, but compared to the rest, he's worth way less. But I think it's something like 10, something like that. But he's he's the best, one of the best persons I've ever met in my life. Like he'll do anything for anyone involved in his club, pumps a lot of money into junior league, and Mr. Warrington, we call him, is but these are the people that, I really clicked with, my type of people. If I ever became rich, you wouldn't want to be living in the east somewhere. You'd want to be around all your friends and making sure you're trying to let everyone raise with you for sure. So best 3 years of my career, I reckon, at Warrington.
Yeah, no, solid, brother. How do they? Oh, actually, what's the differences between Super League and NRL? If you could give like the major differences between the competitions. Obviously,
It's just slower. It's actually a tougher brand. They still have those big dopey forwards that will fly in and knock you in ways that doesn't happen in the NRL. In the NRL, everything's so robotic. Like, you know what's going to happen. You know how they'll defend. They'll defend like that every time, and we'll attack like this to try and break them down. In the Super League, man, you don't know what you're going to get. Obviously, the conditions.
Adrian Morley's come out of nowhere. What?
Not even the best. Like, just big, goofy, slower, but just coming in, dropping on, and elbows in, and
true.
I think that's why a lot of the forwards do well when they come over, because I reckon the Super League's actually a tougher brand of footy because it's a bit slower. I think the NRL's become so fast that there's not many shots anymore. Everyone's just trying to stick to their systems, hold their line, make their tackles, slow it down. Whereas Super Leagues, you still get the blokes racing out of the line, and you get 4-man will jam out of the line. Whereas in the NRL, you don't leave your line unless you're a winger on the end. So, like, just little weird things like that, it takes some getting used to for sure.
What do you think about the whole thing about the NRL thinking of purchasing, or maybe there was fucking smoke and mirrors? I don't know, but you think that would be a good thing if they did?
I think it would be. I think the game's run by bloody some of the decisions that
dinosaurs.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too critical, because like, it's easy to be critical, but like, rugby league means fucking nothing in England. Like, people need to understand. Soccer and football is so big. So, like, as I said, I don't want to be too critical, because they've got their work cut out from the word go. Like, it's fucking difficult, man. The sport over there, it's an aging population. You look around the crowds, like, there's not many people under the age of 50. Like,
at the games.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize how big rugby league was, sort of, 15, 20 years ago in that country. It was huge. So all them fans, they're so fanatical, and they're all still involved in the game, but we're just not getting the influx of younger ones coming through. So
how do you think you do that? Content?
I've got my beliefs.
Yeah.
But my beliefs are based on my experiences in Australia. Where rugby league's almost the number one sport. I think you need to they need to make a dent in schools. The school system in England's a lot different. You don't get the opportunities within school to play sport like you do in Australia. So like in Australia, you can make it professionally almost just from your school sport. Like, you can make Australian schoolboys under 15s, Australian schoolboys under 18. So you get afforded all these opportunities within school. We go to high school in Australia, and you pick your high school based on your rugby league program. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in England, you just go to school, and then on the weekends you pursue your sport. Whereas if we could force our way into the schools, we can be, trying to convince younger kids to take up the sport and then play the long game. But man, like, as I said, I'm not critical, because you don't understand the makeup of that country until you live there. Like, you've got things like darts and snooker that fucking rank as highly.
Bigger.
I mean,
Right.
I'm looking on channels, and you're watching darts, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? But it's huge. And when you continue to watch it, you actually enjoy it. And they've managed to create this carnival-like atmosphere at the darts. Like, the thing about English too is they're very content. They're a very content people. Like, there's a lot of poverty in England. People probably don't realize that. The gap between the rich and the poor is just widening by the day.
A lot bigger than here, you feel?
Yeah, I think the government step in a lot more here. They'll help you more, which is
okay.
good and bad, I guess. The government teaches you here that you can fucking live the rest of your life on the dole, and whereas over there's a lot of poverty, but as long as they can pay their bills and have a beer at the end of the week and cheer for their footy team or their rugby league team, they're pretty happy people. That's one thing. Like in Australia, everyone's in this rat race. Everyone's trying to climb the ladder, earn more money. You know what I mean? Whereas in England, I do feel like they're a little bit more content, and they're whether that's giving up. You could also say that's giving up on life, I guess. But they are very content, and they understand where they fit, sort of, on the run or on the ladder, sort of thing. Yeah, that's one of my observations living there.
Nah, solid, brother. Before we get out of here, I've got a couple of questions for you. But before we get into that, can you tell us about the house? You did say something about how you got the house. So it's a cool story.
Growing up, obviously the Channel 9 footy show was everyone used to spend their Thursday nights watching the footy
show. Good, eh?
Thursday night was the one night your parents let you stay up past. My bedtime was 8:30. I think the footy show was 8:30, and then it changed to 9:30. But Thursday night was the one night your parents let you stay up, because the footy show was your childhood, man. Paul Borton, Chief, Sterlo, those guys.
Even back in New Zealand, brother, it was like, it was a lot later too, like 10:30, sometimes on 11:30, but like, you still stayed up just to watch the footy show.
100%, and it was that funny. But they had a segment called League of Their Own. So if you recorded your junior footy, you'd send the try in, and they'd pick a winner for the week, and then at the end of the year, all the weekly winners would go into the running to win a car. They'd pick the best try. Under nines, I score a grand final winning try at Penrith Stadium. We're playing in the under 9-1s grand final. I'm playing for Doonside, and we're versing St Clair. There's about the Comets. So there must be about a minute left on the clock. We're down on our own goal line. We're inside our own 10. So when you're inside your own 10 and under 10s and under, you're allowed one pass and you're allowed to run. So I run the ball from halfback, weave my way down the sideline. A few of the St Clair boys still claim that I stepped on the line, but I didn't step on the line. Anyway, so 100-meter try, step them all a couple of times, score the try. That makes it 3-3, because back then in kids footy, if you only pass the ball once, you get 3 points for the try. If you pass it twice, you get 5 points. So rugby league people remember them rules. So it's a 3-pointer. So I draw the match, it becomes 3-3. Then I do a drop kick conversion to win the game. We win the grand final 5-3.
Clutch.
Well, being a grand final, they're always recorded by someone, and at the end of the match, you get the chance to purchase the game. So Mum buys the game or whatever, and then about a year down the track, this League of Their Own segment, Mum notices it. She says, "I'm going to send you a try in." So we send the try in. We win the weekly prize, and then we get a call. So the grand final footy show is always the week of the NRL grand final. Yep. So a couple of weeks before that, we get a call, and they're like, "Oh, we just want to let you know you've won League of Their Own." And the prize that year was a Holden Jackaroo. So it was a Holden 4-wheel drive. It was valued at $47,000. And they said, "We want you to come on the grand final show to collect the car." So I went on and collected the car. And then Mum and Dad, one of the smarter things they've ever done in life, a few idiots probably would have kept the car. They sold the car back, and that was the deposit on Mum and Dad's on our family home. So like a lot of parents, your goal is to buy a home for your family. And most families out in them areas, they work hard enough to be able to afford a mortgage, but what they can't afford is the 50 grand deposit or the 80 grand deposit or the, you know what I mean? So my parents were in that boat, would have loved to have purchased a house, but scraping together a deposit when you're working on one income and your kids are doing all this stuff is not easy. So yeah, that was our deposit. And that's like, at the time, you don't really realize what a cool story that has the potential to be. But like when I look back now, we have a bit of a laugh on that, but ultimately, like I played a huge role in buying my parents a house when I was 10 years old, and it's something I'm really proud of and a really cool story.
Yeah, no, beautiful. Thank you for sharing, brother. If you could have one meal for the rest of your life, you could only eat one meal, what do you choose?
One meal? Oh, I'll probably go chicken schnitzel, I reckon.
Yeah, chicken schnitzel.
Yeah, but I eat it in a certain way too. So you put the gravy on top.
Yeah.
And then you put barbecue sauce over the top of the gravy. And you do that on your chips. You do that on your chips and your schnitzel.
Here we go, brother. Hey, bit of
And
act
in
there.
England, there's no schnitzels, bro. I couldn't find one anywhere.
Nah, not a thing. Not a thing, cuz.
Only parmesanas, but I don't like parmesanas.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you could have one superpower, which one do you choose and why?
It'd be fly, I reckon. It'd be pretty cool
Yeah.
to fly. Yeah, you wouldn't be late to too many things.
Yeah, you're the fly.
Yeah.
Top 5 players that you played against.
Against, I guess NRL, Dave Taylor.
Oh, Big Dave!
Bro,
What a
that
weapon,
guy.
eh?
I
So
was a
skillful and
21-year-old
just
half
huge.
trying to mark him. Oh man, crazy. I'm going to say Greg Inglis for the same reason. Greg Inglis was a nightmare to try and tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to play against your Smiths, Cronks, but I'll probably say Billy Slater, just rapid. And obviously, when you're a half, like he's flying around out the back of shape, and you've got to be quick enough to match it with him. And so he was a nightmare. In England, I'd say Sam Tompkins.
Oh yeah, Sammy boy,
Sam Tompkins,
former New
former
Zealand
Warrior,
Warrior
yeah.
too.
Didn't have his best years there, but such a competitor. I fucking hated versing him. I actually toured with him for England, and turns out like he's the best bloke ever. Loved every minute of spending time with him. He went out of his way to make sure I was comfortable. And I was like, fuck you, you're a cockhead on the field, but you're actually a legend.
Yeah. Is that the worst too?
Yeah.
Beast, eh?
And the last one would be probably Johnny Lomax.
Another England man. St. Helens.
Great guy. I got to tour with him as well, but on the field, once again, just a competitor. Obviously, he was number 6 for St. Helens. I was number 6 for Warrington, and you knew you were going to have a good battle on your hands when you come up against Johnny.
Okay, a flip, brother, and besides those two, obviously, and it's relative to now. Top 5 players you played with.
Yeah. So the first two are pretty easy. I've actually got, when I framed my debut jersey, I got a photo of both of these two. I got to play alongside them, and that was Petro Sivnasiva.
Oh.
Petro had this ability to make you feel like he really cared about you. He had like a really cool story about, I was away for the first week of my son's birth. We had to go to a trial in Port Macquarie, and after the match, he come across the other side of the field, met my son, met my family, met my mum, met my dad. And I remember 2 weeks later, he come across my dad, and he remembered my dad's name from the 2 weeks previous. And that sounds
that's beautiful, brother.
Well, it sounds trivial, but to my dad was like, fuck, Petro remembered my name. And then to me, I was like, he remembered my dad's name. So, he had this ability to make you feel like he really cared about you and cared about everyone in the squad, not just the top guys. The next one would be Luke Lewis. Luke Lewis was probably a hero of mine, probably the New South Wales best player of the last 20 years, in my opinion. But he was a Blacktown sort of Doonside boy, someone that I always looked up to. So him. The next one, probably one of the most enjoyable blokes that I've ever shared a field with and shared a team with. That was Josh Papali.
Yeah.
Now, Josh, my best footy come when Josh Papali was stood outside me. People don't realise this, but my first year or two at Canberra, he was still a back rower, and then he morphed. Then they changed him into a prop. But there's no coincidence. My show and go worked the best when there was a 120 kilo behemoth outside me. One of the best humans you'll ever meet. Has time for anyone, like to the point where he'll put himself out for anyone. Lovely family, lovely guy. So yeah, one of the coolest guys that I'll always say that I got to play with. Played with the guy at Warrington called Daryl Clark.
Oh yes,
he's a hooker. Love the way he went about his business. Like he likes rugby league, but not to the point where he lets it overrule his life. Like he's a hooker, and if you watched him play, you'd think he was pretty, a bit of a student of the game, but that's not how he was. He just enjoyed it. He just enjoyed playing, and he just enjoys a beer with his mates after. But he's a freak, man. I think in England, he's almost won every award possible: Man of Steel, Lance Todd Trophy, Challenge Cup. So he's won it all. Been one of England's best for the last 10 years as well. So that's 4.
One more, brother. One
more. I'll probably say Trent Waterhouse. He was another one in my early years.
OG.
that obviously he was one that I grew up watching play in Origin, and so when you get to share the field with guys like that, yeah, it's pretty surreal. So yeah.
100%. Give us last one, brother. Give us 10 years from now, Blake Austin. What's life like?
Yeah, I hope I'm. Do you know what? I've got this real passion for. I'm watching all these debutante. You know how clubs film their debutants now?
Yeah.
And their parents come in and present the jersey. Man, I want that. I want that moment, man. I want to.
Yeah.
My son in moments like that, and just fucking tell everyone how proud I am of him, and so I want that. But I've also got 3 daughters. My daughter played her first game of rugby league, so I want that for my son and for my daughters. So my oldest daughter plays soccer, but she's starting to get a bit of the bug for rugby league because obviously women's rugby league's everywhere now. You didn't see it much in England, but coming back here, it's everywhere. My 5-year-old played her first game the other day. She's got something special about her. She's got this inner competitiveness that, if she can tame that the rest of her life, she's going to be pretty special. So, I want to be the father of some pretty successful kids. That's where I want to be in 10 years.
Yeah, no more kids though on the horizon. All done with the kids.
We've toyed with the idea, but we're now 33 and our youngest is 5. All the kids are in school. I think we'd love a couple of more, but you've got to set your whole life back. It sounds a bit selfish, but we had our kids young, and we're now them parents that all our friends have got newborns, and we're like, no, we can. Our kids can play. Get out for a while.
Good on you, bro.
It's pretty good.
Nah, solid, brother. Hey, brother, time's the most valuable commodity we have as human beings, brother.
And that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm learning big time, yeah, for sure.
Thank you for sharing your time with myself and this little show that I'm, trying to do my best on. I appreciate it because you could be spending your time with your wife right now, or even the little ones I can hear roaming around the background. So, thank you so much, brother. And
no drama at all, mate. Keep plugging away, and then
definitely, brother.
What are you doing? That's
short steps, long vision, baby.
That's right. Just zoom
all right,
out.
my brother. Catch you soon, my brother. And if I'm ever in your hood, I'll hit you up. And if you're ever in Perth, brother, hit me up. Always be keen for a bit of a beer or whatever.
Yep. No drama. Thank you, mate.
Big love, man.